Okay, we've seen this place during the day. Let's see what it looks like as the sun starts to set. So I'm going to take a little drive to the west of the starter area here in Providence Ridge, and we're going to get a look at the sky during the sunset and maybe a little bit more. Let's try not to hit any bloaters along the way. That'd be really great. That would kind of cut my plans short a little bit. But I've actually already claimed a couple of sites down this way. You can see here that I actually own this substation. This is my power station. This is my cell tower. And Brian, do you see something different? Something that's changed a little bit?
Yeah, it seems as though it's lit up. It's probably because you've outposted this place. You've claimed this site as yours.
That is right. So this is actually true. Pretty much any site. Well, there's a few restrictions, but pretty much any site that is the long-term home of an enclave or an outpost that you've claimed yourself is gonna get this treatment. And so you can see, like, this looks like humans actually want to live and work here. They've made it a place where they want to live. They're not just gonna be standing around in the darkness anymore. And so this has now
Yeah.
become a really nice place for me to look at the sunset. So yeah, go. You were about to say
So
something, Brian.
yeah. Sorry for interrupting
Oh
you.
no, no, no. Go
Uh,
ahead.
so one thing that we at Valkyrie noticed as we started working with y'all over at Undead Labs was when an enclave claims a site, when they claim a building as theirs and they set up shop and they're going to be living there for a while, it's a little odd to just see 3, 5 people standing around in the dark, especially with some of the like trash on the floor, some overturned chairs and whatnot.
Dead
Um,
bodies.
Dead bodies everywhere. So one thing that we wanted to do, and we were finally able to get in after quite a while working
Yeah,
on.
because you guys have been
Uh,
working on this in the background for a very long time.
yeah,
Because it's a
yeah, I
lot of
think,
work. I mean, there's a lot of sites in this world that enclaves can settle in.
yes, yes, I'll get into that. I think we've been working on it in the background since around March, maybe April. It's around there. But this is a global change. It'll affect all maps when this goes out, when this is live.
So not
Um,
just Providence Ridge. People will see this
Not just
everywhere.
Providence Ridge. This is Providence Ridge, Trumbull Valley. This is Meager Valley, everywhere across the board, because this is a system change. Effectively, when you claim an outpost or if an enclave takes a location, the majority of them will have a lighting treatment that comes in with the enclave. Um, Whether it be some lights getting added, some lights turning on, turning over some chairs that were scattered on the floor, some cleanup to make it look more lived in. That was kind of the whole goal, is to make it seem like this is actually a place people exist in and want to kind of settle down in. So obviously we had to find all of these locations. Turns out there were around, and Andrew can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but there were around 170, 180 of these individual places that we had to one by one light and update. Um, yes, there is a beer
This
sign.
this is
There's
my
a few
favorite light in the
neon
game, the
signs.
beer sign. But
Yeah,
yeah, so players have been asking for this for a really long time. They've been saying, it's weird that enclaves hang around in the dark all day. We would really love to see them turn on the lights, but it's not as simple as just flipping a switch, right? Like you had to
no,
open up so many buildings and go through and
yes.
make them lightable.
Yeah, well, yeah, there was that. Simply adding in the lights and effectively making two versions of a building. The building contains both versions, but it's like there is an unlit state and a lit state. So there was that, which Andrew and Matt went through and handled all of the art side of it. And then I went through in the meantime and built the logic, the underlying code to actually swap between the two and check certain states, handle multiplayer, make sure that all the lights and whatnot were showing up the same for both hosts and clients. Um, and of course, I mean, to begin with, we had to find everything. And then once we found everything, we were able to get everything populated. And then it was just a lot of testing, making sure that everything worked as expected. We're very happy with how it came out at this point.
Oh yeah, same here. I mean, even if all you'd done is add that beer sign, I would have been happy. And then you did so much more.
There are a few neon signs that I think players are going to be excited to encounter.
Yeah, and we're not gonna like turn on the cheat that turns on all of the lighting on all of the buildings across the map, because we want players to discover this. We want them to see some of the surprising choices you all made, redecorating a lot of these sites. And we should emphasize, by the way, that you made this change, and like you said, 170, 180 buildings, but still not every building in the game was on that list. There's a fair number of them that are like either like small sheds and things like that where it didn't seem appropriate, and so players are going to run into missions here and there where, like, say an enclave is in a building that isn't lit, but most of those are going to be missions where we're depicting an enclave that's not in the best state right now. They're not living in a proper home, they're just hanging out somewhere, they're passing through. And,
that was one thing we decided early on, to make it specifically outposts, places that you could take over. And anywhere where an enclave was going to be like permanent, relatively speaking. Obviously, you can go and make them hostile or whatnot. You could, anyway. Effectively, if they move in and they show up on the map as a permanent enclave, at that point, it'll light up the building for the most part. There are, like you said, some instances like small sheds and other places where it just didn't feel right to light it. And of course, every building, since we went through them all individually, they're all slightly different. There are some places that are better lit, some places that are worse lit. There are some places with some interesting lighting, if you can find them. I, for one, love the post office personally, but I'm sure Andrew has some favorites as well.
Yeah, are there any that you want to call out, Andrew, that players who are experimenting with this in their own game are going to want to have a look at?
Oh man, I love the cell tower, which you kind of hit one of those already. Yeah, I love that guy. Some of the barns are super interesting inside. I think just the way that they have the slats where you have the light and the dark kind of coming through, and the warmth of the wood and the lights, and I don't know, those are kind of fun. It's some of the outposts are really nice too. You guys just need to discover them and find your favorite. It's definitely encourage people to take more outposts and explore a little bit to see all of what we did, because we spent, I think, Matt and I, two artists, over 170 of these things. We can do something like 3 months worth of work. So we were in there for a long time, and just coming up with new ideas for what to do in places it was a treat. You guys get to find it all.
This is from Barely Official. As we've had this problem, or not necessarily a problem, but a little bit of a hurdle for players. Are they going to have to change maps for these changes to take place, or will they happen on their current communities?
That's a great question. You should not have to change maps at all. It should just be once the update goes live. There we go. And you load into your game. At that point, any enclaves that are already out there, any outposts you already own, they should just be ready to go. They should be lit up. So you shouldn't have to worry about making a community, joining a new map, etc. Should all be good.
Well, Andrew, the random number generator, I think, might have just given you a post office. Was it Andrew that said that the post office was a favorite?
No, it's one of my favorites. I especially like, I believe, I could be thinking of the wrong place, but if you climb up the ladder on the back, I like the work that's been done up top.
Okay, yeah, let's check it out.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, look at this. We got a bunch of little lights strung up around a garden. We got a burning barrel over people. This really feels lived in. Oh man. Oh, nice grouping. Nice.
This might be one of the furthest on the roofs taken that we took.
So
this is the most built in here.
So if this enclave had not moved in here, this roof would look very different. It's not just lights that you turned on. Like, you actually redecorated a lot of these places.
In some instances, yeah, it's a varying sort of a potpourri of approaches depending on the building and what kind of inspiration we had in the moment and what thoughts came to mind and what we wanted to do there. We're just still trying to tell stories in everything that we do. So if there's a story that comes to you, you go ahead and tell it, and if there's not, then maybe you don't. So in that case, that roof, I don't know, needed a garden and some more stuff for me, so I put that stuff in. But I will say that did not happen on every roof.
But there's a lot of stuff for players to discover out there, and so yes, we definitely would encourage players once they get this, in the public test realm, or if you get it once it goes live in the game, go around and explore. We would love to see the player created videos, like showing what the best enclave sites are, the best outpost art. We'd love to see what your opinions are on this stuff. And one last thing before we move on to the next feature, it's nighttime now, and there is a whole different vibe at night than there used to be. Like, you can see, like, if I'm looking in the direction of the plague hearts, I can see that it's like, or just in this direction where there's a lot of plague fog, there's this reddish feel, but in the directions where there's less plague fog, there's this greenish tint, and almost makes it look like I'm in like a Swamp Thing movie. It's really, really like thick and atmospheric, and I don't know, I haven't played our game in a place like this before.
Yeah, so that's another map Tenari change. He really wanted to make the night a little bit unique, especially from the other maps. But also, you'll notice near your character that it's actually a little bit brighter. So you have a sense of being able to see a little bit better than previously, and play within where you are a little bit better. But then have this really nice, creepy backdrop with the fog again, layering things off as it fades in and out. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's like, because we've always had this sort of back and forth feeling of like, we want to make the night feel really, really dark, but we don't want it to be frustrating, make players feel like they can't see. And it looks like you're striking this really nice balance here where this map, the atmosphere, like especially at night, feels oppressive. It feels like it's dark and scary here, but I can still see where the obstacles are around me. Like the ground, it's lit. I can tell where it is. I can tell where the obstacles are. I can see, but it still feels dark. And I don't know exactly how to explain what's going on, but that's why there's artists who are good at this, who know what they're doing.
That's a tightrope balance right there for sure.
We got quick fire questions coming at you. Ready?
Okay, yeah.
Does the new lighting only show up in your outpost if your community has access to power?
No, I think that's
No.
Brian. You can.
Yeah, so no, that was one thing that we kind of waffled on right at the start, was whether every place should have generators, whether we should base it off base power, and we just decided, you know what, everyone just gets lights.
Yeah,
it's fun.
And a lot of the types of lights we're choosing too, were things like fire and candles and stuff. Like there's a lot of stuff that would work either way, and so splitting those hairs just felt like it wasn't really worthwhile compared to.
Yeah, I mean, even like the string lights. Yeah, even the string lights you can pick up at a hardware store that are battery operated. Like all of these things, you could make the argument that you don't need power to light any of these things, but that wasn't really something that we were all that focused on when we were making them.
All right. Does the level of the outpost affect how it looks? Like, if it's a level 1 versus a level 3, will the lighting change?
No, it's a on or off state.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Because times the work.
We would have had to multiply that number of outposts by 3, which would have been ridiculous.
Right. Are the insides of the outposts and enclave buildings cleaned up? I think you guys have kind of covered this, but maybe you could clarify just to make sure that we get that answered.
So, like the ones that are really cluttered and stuff, like, do they look a little bit more livable?
Yeah, the intent was to sort of clean it up a little bit, but again, it's varying states in different buildings, so some will be cleaner than others. And it's like all about trying to tell that story and leave some story in there. If we completely cleaned the entire building, then you just have, a building when you're going to like a home sale, something like that. That's not very interesting. So it's a little both.
And then the Ricky Adams on YouTube asks, do the lights attract zombies so you can farm them faster?
No.
My guess is the answer is no, because outposts create safe zones where zombies try to stay away from anyway, based on our AI. But anyway, I'll let you guys answer it your way.
Yeah, I mean, you answered the question. No, they do not attract zombies. It's a cool idea, but no, they don't.
All right.
Cool. Well, hey, thank you both for walking us through these like immense changes that you've made to our world. And I can't wait for the audience to get the chance to get their hands on this so they can explore all of the details that we were not able to show on this show today.